Hello everyone, welcome to the Preces from Go to Woe, Part 1, God, from Serviam to see consistent. Okay, let's do Serviam. Comes from the verb servio, meaning to serve. Pretty simple so far. Now, if we look at the possibilities for it, let's see here. Here's the active form, servio, servis, servit, remembering that Latin verbs conjugate, and that's how you can tell if it's, I serve, you serve, he, she, or it serves, etc. So here we've got the form serviam, which is either going to be a future form or possibly a subjunctive present. Now, I think it's a future form, and I'm putting this on because I have occasionally heard people tell me that it's a subjunctive. Remember, the subjunctive mood is the mood of possibility, suggestion, conditionality, and so forth. Whereas the future mode is just something in the future. So, for example, serviam means I will serve. Servies means you will serve, right? So I'm putting that on there for completeness for those people that think it's a subjunctive, but I don't think it is, and the people I've talked to think it's a future. So serviam just means I will serve, and as in English, it has that implication of I intend to serve, not just I will serve sometime in the future, but I intend to serve. So serviam, I will serve. Next, ad Trinitatem beatissimum. What's going on here? Ad is a preposition meaning essentially to, and it takes an accusative object. So let's look at Trinitatem. It comes from the noun trinitas, meaning for our purposes Trinity. Okay. Now remember that Latin nouns decline. They change their form as well, depending on the case. And if you can't remember that, go back to the toolkit videos. Trinitatem, you can see here, excuse me, is a singular accusative form. So that makes sense because it's going with this preposition that we're told takes an accusative object. So this means to the Trinity. Now remember, Latin doesn't have a word for the definite article, so you infer it. So ad Trinitatem just means to the Trinity. How about beatissimum? It's an adjective. It comes from the adjective beatus, meaning blessed. And adjectives, like nouns, decline. So nouns have case, that's what the declension is, nominative, genitive, etc. They also have gender, masculine, feminine, or neuter. And so an adjective has to match its noun in case, gender, and also in number, plural or singular, right? So we've got a singular trinity, which is in the accusative case, and trinitas is a feminine noun. So we have to go down to the feminine column here in the singular box. And we go down to the accusative, and it's beatissimum. Now, a bit of a word. Remember, this is actually a superlative adjective. It doesn't mean just blessed. It means most blessed. And again, in English, we make our adjective superlative by either adding most in front of it or adding the suffix est. So, for example, I could say I am having the biggest piece of cake. Or I could say I'm having the most big piece of cake. That's pretty clunky, but everyone would know what I meant. So this now then means to the Trinity most blessed, or we'd say in English to the most blessed Trinity. Okay, gratias tibi Deus, gratias tibi, vera et una trinitas, una et summa deitas, sancta et una unitas. What's going on here? Gratias tibi. Gratias is an accusative plural form of the noun gratia, meaning favour or gratitude, right? Thanks. Why is it accusative and why is it plural? Well, I guess plural because we give thanks in the plural. That's just a thing. We do it in English often. I can say I give you thanks, and they obviously did in Latin as well. Why is it accusative? Because really what's going on here, there's an implied verb, ago, meaning I give, gratias tibi ago, okay? Or in English, I give thanks to you. I might just say thanks to you. Thanks to you, mate, or thanks, mate, I might say. But there's an implied I give. So here, if you think about this, give is the verb, I is the subject, and thanks is the direct object. And in this case, to you is the indirect object. Remember, the direct object receives the action of the verb, and the indirect object receives the direct object. So here, I give thanks. Direct object is receiving the action of giving. Thanks has been given, right? And then you, to you, receives the thanks, the direct object. So Gratias tibi is following exactly this pattern. Thanks in an accusative form, because it's actually a direct object. Tibi is a dative form of you. So we would translate this to you. Gratias tibi, Deus. What's the Deus doing there? So Deus means God. I think we all know that. And Deus is either a nominative or a vocative form. In this case, it's actually a vocative form because we are addressing him. We're addressing God, so it's vocative. So I'm saying, thanks to you, God, thanks to you. Gratias tibi Deus, gratias tibi. Okay, what about the second bit? So, there's a few things going on here. So we've got the Trinity popping up again. This time, it's in a nominative case. We've also got this word deitas, which is another noun, a feminine noun, meaning deity or godhead. You might sometimes translate that. So deitas, we can see here, is a nominative form. I mean, they could be vocatives as well. You'll see down the bottom here. But when we see what this sentence, as we start to put the sentence together, we're going to see that it makes much more sense for it to be nominative form. Because if all these were vocatives, which, you know, just by the form of the word they could be, there actually wouldn't be any verbs at all in this. We're going to see some implied verbs by the fact that they're nominative. So if they're all vocative, there'd be no implied verbs, and it wouldn't really be a sentence, so it would make a bit less sense. Anyway, let's kick on, and hopefully you'll see what I mean. And then unitas, another noun meaning oneness or unity, right? And unitas, going to be a nominative form, we think. How about una? What's going on here from unus, which means one, okay, so it's an adjective. And we're having una, a nominative feminine form. Okay, this is masculine up here, this is feminine, so I didn't label that. And then vera up here, from verus, meaning true, or, you know, proper or something, usually true. Again, masculine form up here, feminine form down here. So because all these nouns, trinitas, deitas, unitas, they're all feminine, so everything we use, every adjective we use is going to have to be in the feminine form. So again, we're going to use vera, which is the nominative feminine form. So vera et una trinitas, okay? Then una, also nominative feminine form to apply to both deitas and unitas. And then summa comes from summus, meaning highest, okay? Masculine form up here, feminine here, so we're going to use the nominative singular feminine form, summa, una et summa deitas. And then lastly, sancta comes from sanctus, which means holy, masculine, feminine, so we're going to use the nominative feminine form here, sancta. So let's have a look at this. Gratias tibi Deus. Deus is in the vocative form because we are addressing God. And then we've got Trinitas, Deitas, and Unitas in the nominative form. So let's look at vera et una Trinitas. So it could literally what it does mean is true and one Trinity. So et means and. So we can translate this actually as the Trinity is true and one. Or we could say, equally validly, you are the true and one Trinity. Because remember, we've been addressing God in this bit, saying thanks to you, God, thanks to you. So it would make sense to continue on from that to say you are. So that you are is implied, okay? So you are the one and true Trinity, and it's a predicate nominative. If you remember from the toolkit videos, when you have the verb to be, that often functions not like a normal verb. So I say, you know, the boy hits the ball. The ball is the object, the boy is the subject. The ball's being hit, it's receiving the action of the verb, and the boy is doing it. But if I were to say, the boy is a teacher, it's different. The is really functioning a bit like an equal sign. Okay, it's saying these two things are equivalent. So you don't have a subject and object in the same way. So when I say you are the true and one Trinity, if I say it like this, then Trinity is also going to be in the nominative case because of this verb to be, or in this case, the second person form of it. So we call that the predicate nominative. Okay, and then the same deal for deity and unity. So one and highest deity, the deity is one and most high, holy and one unity. The unity is holy and one, or I could say here, you are the one and most high deity, you are you are the holy and one unity, right? So a normal way of translating this is to translate it, thank you, God. Thank you, direct address. You are the one and true Trinity, the one and supreme deity, the holy and one unity. Ad Iesum Christum Regem. Okay, ad again, preposition taking an accusative object meaning to. So we're going to look for some accusative objects here, or accusative nouns. So Iesum means Jesus, Jesus would be the nominative, and Iesum is an accusative. Makes sense. Christum, also pretty easy, from Christus. Christum is the accusative form. And how about Regem? Comes from the noun rex, meaning king, and Regem is the accusative form. So we've just got a string of nouns together in the accusative case, string of direct objects, and we translate this to Jesus Christ the King. Just like we do in English, Jesus Christ and King are all nouns, and we just string them together after the two. Dominus Iudex noster, Dominus legifer noster, Dominus rex noster, ipse salvabit nos. Okay, we've got king again, this time in its nominative form, rex. And we've also got Iudex, which means judge, in its nominative form, rex and Iudex. And then our old friend Dominus, there it is, the nominative form of the word meaning Lord. So let's do this word noster. Noster is from the Latin word meaning our. Remember, Latin uses possessive pronouns to show possession. It doesn't use the genitive form of the personal pronouns. English is pretty similar, actually. So the personal pronouns are I, you, he, she, it. And then the possessive pronouns are mine, yours, theirs. Okay? Same idea in Latin. So the Latin version of our is noster, and it declines just like nouns, any noun. So the possessive pronoun has to match the noun it goes together with in case, gender, and number. So Iudex and rex are both in the nominative case, and they're singular masculine nouns. So we're going to use the singular masculine nominative version, which is noster. So this means Dominus Iudex noster means the Lord is the judge of us. So the Lord is our judge, and the Lord is the king of us. The Lord is our king. Okay, now, I think I'm just writing that again, aren't I? Okay, and note again, there's no the in Latin, we're inferring it, and the verb is also being inferred, right, from the fact that these are both in the nominative case, right? Remember that thing about the predicate nominative? Here it is again, actually written down this time. The Lord is our judge or king. Both sides of the verb are in the nominative case because is functions like an equal sign. And it's implied, again, when you see two nominative case nouns together like that in Latin, it's pretty much always going to be something like an is between them. How about legifer? Why wasn't I talking about legifer? Because Dominus legifer noster looks pretty similar to these guys. Well, legifer is actually not a noun, so I decided to do it separately. Rex and Iudex are third declension masculine nouns. We know that. But legifer is actually an adjective. And in this case, its functioning is what we call a substantive adjective, which means it's functioning like a noun. A bit like in the sentence, the meek will inherit the earth. So meek is actually an adjective, right? But in that sentence, the meek will inherit the earth. We're talking about the meek people. So meek is functioning like an adjective, okay? So legifer here means law-giving, And here it is, ledger for nominative masculine singular form. So, similarly, this means the Lord is our judge. How about ipse salvabit nos? Okay, salvo is a verb meaning to save. So, salvabit is a future form. It's the third person singular, so it means he, she, or it will save. What about this ipse business? Ipse simply means oneself, okay? And so this means he will save, this means himself, so he himself will save. And then nos, this is the first person plural personal pronoun now, so meaning we or us, and nos is either nominative or accusative. In context, it's going to be accusative, meaning us. So this means he himself will save us. Okay, we said that. And so this whole verse now means the Lord is our judge, the Lord is our lawgiver, the Lord is our king, he himself will save us. Christe fili vivi miserere nobis. Okay, Christus, we've come across this before. Christe is the vocative form, so we're addressing Christ. How about fili Dei? So filios means son. So fili is actually a vocative form as well. Normally, for this type of noun, we put an e on the end, like Christe, so filiae, but in practice, languages are weird and it's just dropped off, and you often see fili, F-I-L-I, simply as the vocative form. Certainly in ecclesiastical Latin you do fili, right? So we're saying Christ, son, and then Dei is the genitive form of the word Deus, meaning God. So this means of God. So this means Christ, son of God. Okay? How about vivi? What's that doing there? That's from an adjective, vivus, which means living. Now, let's look at what form it's in. It's actually in a genitive form, singular genitive. So that means it can only be applying to Dei. So this means living God. So this means Christ, son of the living God. It cannot mean Christ, living son of God, or living Christ, son of God, because these aren't in the genitive case, so it must apply to Dei. So this means Christ, son of the living God. Miserere nobis. Okay. Miserere is actually an imperative form of this verb misereor, which means to have mercy on. Now, just a few things, just in case you're looking this up yourself so you don't get confused. There's also this verb misereo, which means the same thing. This is an active verb. This is a deponent verb. A deponent verb is a verb that has a passive form but an active meaning. You don't really get that sort of thing in English because we form our passive our passive voice by, changing words around and putting is's and things. So, for example, I say, I eat the sandwich. That's an active form. I am the subject and I eat, that's the verb, sandwich is the object. I could also say the sandwich is eaten by me. That's a passive form, okay, where the sandwich is eaten, so the subject is being eaten now, and I've just simply changed my word order around in English. But in Latin, or in Greek, for example, I would actually change the way the verb conjugates. But sometimes you use passive forms to mean something active, and it's just a thing. There's not really a good reason for it. I mean, we could argue a bit about it and discuss it, but it's beyond the scope of these videos. So you're just going to have to take my word for it. Occasionally you're going to see a deponent verb where a passive form is used actively. So when you look up misereo, you're going to see that miserere is an imperative form. But if you were to look up misereo, the active form of it, it would be an infinitive, which wouldn't really make sense. So it's not that, it's this, okay? Imperative form meaning to have mercy. And then nobis is actually a dative form of the personal pronoun, the first person plural personal pronoun, which means us or in this case, to us or on us. Okay, you'll notice here on both these that it says with genitive. So in classical Latin, misereor or misereo actually take an object in the genitive case, another weird thing. That doesn't really happen in ecclesiastical Latin. It tends to use a dative. So we've learnt usually that most direct objects are in the accusative case. Again, weirdness happens sometimes in every single language, things that don't seem to totally make sense. And so in this case, miserere nobis, nobis is a dative form. And so we would translate that, have mercy on us. Okay. So we said all that, miserere, an imperative. So it's a command or a like a kind of a directed request. So Christ, Son of the living God, addressing him, have mercy on us. So the whole thing, Christ, Son of the living God, have mercy on us. Exsurge Christe, adiuva nos. Okay. Christe again, the vocative form of Christus. So we're addressing Christ again. How about exsurge and adiuva? These are both verbs. The verb exsurgo means to like rise up, okay? Swell, bestir oneself, okay? And the verb adiuvo means to help, okay? Now, these things up here, these different versions of the verb are what's called the principal parts. They're kind of, I think of them as just like different versions of the verb, and in languages where verbs are conjugated, like Greek and Latin, you have all these different versions of the verb, right, which are mostly lost in English. But these principal parts go to make up different aspects of the conjugation. So to find an imperative, you take the RE off the second principal part. Probably don't waste brain cells remembering that. That's probably not worth it. But that's what this little cross out here and here means. So exsurge and adiuva are imperatives, okay? So it makes sense because vocatives and imperatives often go together. Vocative noun and an imperative verb, you know. We're addressing Christ and then we're instructing him or commanding him to do something, you know, commanding nicely, asking him essentially. Nos, we remember, is the first person plural personal pronoun. So it's either going to be nominative or accusative. In context here, we can see it's going to be accusative, right? Christ, arise, help us. Okay? It's a direct object of help. So Christ, arise, help us. Okay? I think we've said all that. Arise, Christ, help us. Et libera nos propter nomen tuum. Okay. Libera, from the verb libero, meaning to free, to liberate, okay? And we can see, I haven't done that little red thing, but it's going to be another imperative, isn't it? Because we're still addressing Christ from the previous verse. Have I put nos here? No, I haven't bothered, but remember nos, accusative form, and libera nos means and liberate us. This is the direct object of the verb libera. Propter nomen tuum. Propter, down here, preposition taking an accusative object, just means by way of or through or because of. Nomen means name, and we can see here, nomen is going to be, hopefully, to go with propter in accusative form. Yep, so nomen, that makes sense. So through the name, and tuum, again, it's one of those possessive pronouns. Tuus would be the nominative form, but tuum is the accusative form to go with nomen. So, by way of your name, and liberate us by way of your name or through your name. So, this whole sentence, and liberate us, set us free, for the sake or by way of your name. Dominus illuminatio mea et salus mea quem temebo. Okay. Illuminatio is a noun meaning light or illumination, something like that. Illuminatio is the nominative form, okay? Dominus, we remember, hopefully, means Lord. Illuminatio is in the nominative, as is Dominus. So we're going to remember, when we see two nominative case nouns next to each other, often there's going to be an implied is. The verb is there, okay? What's mea? That is the first person singular possessive pronoun, like the English my, okay? So because illuminatio is feminine, let's look for the feminine line, and it's singular and nominative, so mea is the singular feminine nominative form of my. So this is my light or my illumination. Salus means salvation, another feminine noun, so salus is the nominative form and it's got mea next to it, again like illuminatio, so this is my salvation. So Dominus, we talked about that already, nominative form of Dominus, so this then means the Lord is my light and my salvation. Remember that is implied here by the two nominative case nouns right next to each other, and illuminatio and salus are actually predicate nominatives, right? They're not direct objects because they're going with that verb is that functions like an equal sign. Okay, how about quem timebo? What does that mean? Quem means who or which, okay? And qui is the nominative form, but quem is the accusative form. So we would translate this as whom. How about timebo? Comes from the verb timeo, meaning to fear or to dread, to be afraid. And timebo is a future form of the first person singular. So timebo means I will fear. So quem timebo means whom will I fear? Okay, now we said that. So this whole thing, the Lord is my light and my salvation, whom will I fear? Or I might say, whom shall I fear? Si consistent adversum me castra, non temebit cor meum, si exsurge adversum me prelium, in hoc ego sperabo. Okay, castra and prelium are nouns. I'm going to do the nouns first. Often you sort of, in Latin, when you're trying to unpack a sentence, you'll hone in and look at the verb. I don't know why I decided to do the nouns first. Let's look at these nouns. Castra is a plural form meaning army, okay? Nominative, or possibly castra could also be an accusative form. This is the annoying thing about Newton nouns. They often have the same word for the nominative and the accusative, which feels mean. And ditto for prelium, same in the nominative or the accusative, but this time it's a singular, right? So this could be army in either nominative or accusative, and this means battle in either nominative or accusative. So we've got to work out which one it is. How about cor meum? Okay, cor means heart, another Newton noun. So it's probably, it could be nominative or it could be accusative. Let's look at meum. So meum is again this first person possessive pronoun. So let's go to the neuter column, because cor is a neuter noun, right? So meum is either going to be nominative or accusative, and so we can't really tell yet. I'm going to tell you now a bit of a spoiler. They're going to be nominative, and we'll see why in a minute. So for now, we're just going to note that cor meum means my heart, castra means army plural, and prelium means battle singular, and they're all probably nominative. So let's kick on. Let's look at the verbs now, okay? Si consistent adversum me castra. Okay, consistent and exsurgat, si exsurgat adversum me prelium. Consistent and exsurgat are the verbs. Consistent comes from the verb consisto, meaning to take a stand, and exsurgo means to rise up. We've seen this one before already. We've been telling Christ, the Lord, to rise up and help us, right? Now, these are both the subjunctive mood. Subjunctive is the mood of possibility, suggestion, conditionality, right? And so consistent here is the third person plural. So this means that they might take a stand or that they may take a stand. And exsurgat is the third person singular. So it means that he, she, or it might rise up, or he, she, or it may rise up. So now this is going to tell us something. Remember that castra was plural and prelium was singular. So this would make sense that this is actually the subject of consistent because it's a plural and this is a third person plural, right? And then this might be the subject of exsurgat because this is singular and exsurgat is the singular form. Exsurgant would be the plural form, right? Okay, how about may? Maybe may is the object. And indeed, actually, it is. We can see the first person singular personal pronoun, ego, meaning I or me, may is the accusative form, right? It's also the ablative form, but here it's going to be accusative. Okay, so see consistent, adversum may castra means if armies take a stand, something me. Adversum is an adjective meaning against. So adversum is an accusative form to go with may, right? So this means if armies take a stand against me. And then here, C means if, by the way, if battle rises up against me. Okay, so here we see Latin can stick the subject wherever it feels like. It's sticking the subject at the end of the clause here and here, right? Okay, so if takes a stand against me, me is the direct object, armies is the subject, takes a stand. If arises against me, me, the direct object, a battle, the subject in the nominative case, right? Okay, non timebit cor meum. We've seen timeo before, it means to fear or dread. This time we don't have quem timebo as we did last time. We've got timebit, which is a third person singular. So this means he, she, or it will fear. Okay, but here we've got a non, meaning will not fear. So this means he, she, or it will not fear. And we're actually told what the he, she, or it is, actually. This means my heart, as the subject, will not fear. And so, in hoc ego sperabo, spero is a verb meaning hope, okay? And so sperabo is the first person singular future form, which means I will hope. So in hoc means in this, I will hope. Okay, that's all what that means. So this entire bit now means si consistent adversum me castra. If an army takes a stand against me, my heart will not fear. If battle arises against me, in this I will hope. What is the this? Well, if we went back a little bit to the previous verses, lots of going back, it's the fact, we're hoping in the fact that the Lord is our illumination and our salvation, or my illumination and my salvation, right? Let's just get back to that. And so that's what the hoc is, the Lord, or perhaps more properly, the fact that he's my illumination and my light and my salvation. In that will I hope. And that's the end of part 1 of the Preces Go to Woe. This is just a scene, one of my favourite scenes from The Prince of Egypt, where Moses approaches the burning bush. I think it's a great scene, great movie. Anyway, please give us feedback, as I'm going to say this at the end of every video. Please give us feedback about things that are wrong or need improving, and also please give us some positive feedback, because that actually helps us to work out what we're doing right and therefore keep doing it. And it's also nice to get positive feedback. So thank you for watching, thank you for your attention, and see you next time.